Okay, let's continue with the central nervous system. Parts of the central nervous system. We already said that the central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, now the brain also has subparts to it, so we shall be dealing with all of that. This is the brain. The biggest part of it is known as the cerebrum. This is it, okay? And just below it, there's another part known as the cerebellum. And then there's this solenoid part known as the medulla. From there you have pretty much straight column known as the spinal cord. So these are the basic parts of the central nervous system. Now let's see what they do. The cerebrum, this part, it is the largest part and it controls all mental activities. So everything that we do with our brain, mental activities such as analysis, calculations, logic. For example, 2 plus 2, you will be thinking of something. So that logic, okay, and reasoning. Questions like, why do I have to come to school? That kind of questions. All of that is played around here in this part known as the cerebrum. The next part, this triangular structure, is known as the cerebellum. Now, before I discuss this, I want to talk about two different types of muscles here. We shall be dealing with muscles in a later video, but for this lesson, just two muscles, voluntary muscle and involuntary muscle. Voluntary muscles are those muscles that are found on the skeleton of a body, and it is under our will. And we can move these muscles anytime we decide. Whereas involuntary muscles are those which are not under our will, and most of these involuntary muscles are present inside the body. Okay? For example, the food pipe, the movement of food inside the digestive system is controlled by involuntary muscle, and it is not under our will. So once you swallow food, it begins to travel down the food pipe, but you cannot decide and stop it somewhere in between the stomach and your throat, because it's not under our will. So that is what involuntary muscles mean, okay? Not under our will. But voluntary muscles, which is under our will, our eyelids, under our will. Therefore, I can wink anytime I decide, okay? So those are the two differences. Now, cerebellum controls and coordinates voluntary muscles for a smooth motion. For example, the action of just reading a book. First of all, you need to see the book. Your eyes need to focus on the book. And then you need to reach for the book. You need to, extend your hand and reach the book. And then apply enough effort just to lift the book. Not just to take the book right up there. You need to lift the book and turn the pages over to the right spot. And then begin to read. So all of that action needs coordination to bring about a smooth motion, so that it's not random kind of. So that is done by the cerebellum. So the use of alcohol, when a person is intoxicated by alcohol, the cerebellum will not be able to control the muscles. Therefore you see a drunken person like a wiper of a car windscreen. You'll be measuring the road. I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. The third type, the third part, is called the Medulla Oblongata. It's not the African language, it's just bio. Medulla Oblongata. It controls all vital involuntary or muscular activities. And there are very, very important muscular activities, involuntary muscular activities, such as breathing, the beating of the heart, the movement of the food in the digestive tract. So this is controlled by the medulla oblongata. Then comes the spinal cord. It controls reflex action. So we are going to see what a reflex action is. Reflex action, it is a sudden, involuntary, automatic response where the brain is not involved. For example, knee jerk or an elbow jerk. For example, let's say this is a hammer, and if I tap somewhere on the elbow, okay, somewhere here, if I tap here, my elbow begins to jerk, and I can perceive a electrical shock kind of, experience, and my hand jerks. But that is not controlled by my will. It just happens suddenly and on its own. It's automatic. So that is a reflex action. Another reflex action would be, imagine a very cold winter day, and you are there in the swimming pool. You dive in and you come out. It's so cold, the water is so cold, it literally stings your skin. And then once you're out of the water, you find that your body begins to shake. You begin to shiver. You're not exactly, you know that, but you still begin to shake. Who tells you to shake? The body itself begins to shake in order to generate some amount of energy or heat. Okay? So that is another reflex action. And another thing about reflex action is a term called reflex arc. What is the reflex arc? It is the shortest path from receptors to effectors. Now we talked about receptors and effectors in earlier videos. Receptors receive the impulse, effectors bring about a change. So here, sensory neuron through the motor neuron. So this is the shortest path of the reflex arc. We'll stop there for a while.